Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off in the third army, Ryan Bridgehead, showing the bridgehead and the subsequent track of the Allied soldiers after they crossed the Rhine. We're now on to two mastermen are captured. March 1945. Give way to grief. The Nazi soldier in the pictures above bids goodbye to his wife and child over the railing of a temporary prisoner cage before being sent off to a prison in the rear. Below, a 16-year-old Nazi captured by the United States First Army starts to cry, on the left, turns away, and at the right, sobs and leans against a wall. Yeah, obviously, they call them Nazis, of course, but a lot of these guys are they're just German soldiers. They don't necessarily believe in everything or don't even know everything that's going on. Um, it's just like, you don't necessarily call everyone a Russian soldier in the Soviet Union. It's it's almost actually the opposite, funnily enough. You want to call people here Germans, but not them Russians, because they're not all Russians, but these are all Germans. Um, and yeah, they've got wives, they've got children, and they just are trying to, at this point, survive. The guys that get captured, you almost probably for them, there's probably like a better deal, because you don't end up happening like. Think about this. This kid is 16 years old, and he's out here on the front. He was here to get captured. Think about that. 16. He's not going to be the youngest soldier on the German side, but that's still so young. We like, for instance, nowadays in the United States, that's about when you get your license. It's about when a lot of kids start to learn how to go to work, things like that. But you're still not an adult yet. And you still have so many things that you don't have. But this kid, only 16 years old, just crazy. Crazy to imagine. The British assault the Rhine. March 23rd, 1945. Big guns and armor move up. British medium guns line up near the Rhine, above in preparation for the great Allied offensive north of the Ruhr on March 24th. Below, British mechanized equipment moves through a town of the Wesel-Geldern road as they push forward toward the Rhine River. At the northern end of the Western Front, an, an Allied airborne army crossed the Rhine simultaneously. Yeah, a lot of this, you're going to have simultaneous movement with the airborne divisions and with the ground soldiers. Um, Airborne can help kind of secure that first step while the other soldiers move up. Um, and the airborne can distract the soldiers, things like that. So obviously you're going to want that. And yeah, the Brits are going to push pretty hard because obviously they got to meet that deadline, March 24th. History's greatest air invasion, March 24th, 1945. Troops jump across the Rhine. Glider troops of the 1st Allied Airborne Army leave their planes and prepare for enemy resistance near Wesel, Germany. They are part of 40,000 troops that participated in a large-scale air invasion east of the Rhine. This was the largest operation of its kind at the time. Below, troops gather into units for the mass airborne attack east of the Rhine. Yeah, like I said, airborne troops, super, super useful. Getting as many as possible can definitely be good. You almost run into, though, an issue of you almost have too many troops. 40,000, that's a lot of troops there. And it can cause a lot of inopportune moments, you could say. Um, obviously, these troops they're well trained, they know what they're doing, but still, you never know what could go wrong. Um, Gotta be a little careful there. But obviously, this many troops definitely would shake up quite a bit of German positioning and overall line cohesion. The war comes to German civilians. March 26th, 1945. Sky troops drop in. When 40,000 troops of the 1st Allied Airborne Army were dropped east of the Rhine, near Wesel, Germany, civilians found the war taking place in their backyards. The civilians above watch operations placidly, while mother and children below take refuge in a foxhole to avoid shooting. Note the parachute draped from a tree in the top picture. Yeah, when you're these civilians, you hear the war, especially if they're this close to the Rhine. You hear the war not that far off. You probably hear bombs going off, artillery pieces, things like that, and you see the large bit of troops. But you think, oh well, it won't get to me, it won't get to me, it won't get to me, until it does. And now they have to kind of wonder what's gonna happen to me? You know, you don't really know what to do in these situations. I wouldn't know what to do. You have troops shooting in their backyard, things like that. Like, what do you do? It's good they got in the foxhole. Obviously, that could potentially still end up badly for them, but hey, get down. If they're shooting, get down, get down, get down. Supplies float across the Rhine. March 26th, 1945. Back airborne attack. When 40,000 Allied airborne troops were dropped on the east bank of the Rhine near Wesel, they were separated from their supplies by water. But materials were flown over by the United States Army 8th Air Force. Here, a B-24 Liberator sends battle supplies parachuting down to points where they will be picked up by airborne units. Yeah, obviously, airborne resupply has been happening basically this entire war. Germany, at many points, relies on airborne supply drops, especially in the Eastern Front, where will get these big encirclements of German troops, and then they start dropping supplies in to try to hold on till they can rescue those guys and things like that. Somewhat that actually kind of, to some degree, that kind of is a good idea for the Germans, but also kind of just wasting lives because you're just telling them, all right, just stay. There you go. Good luck. But yeah, dropping these supplies, super, super useful for these. And you'll actually see, funnily enough, after the war is over, a lot of these supply drops happening for West Germany, for Berlin, things like that, to try to supply them. So, specifically West Berlin, that was obviously a very big deal. The Yanks invade the Kurama Islands. March 27th, 1945. Maneuver for Okinawa. The Kurama Islands off Okinawa's southwest coast were quickly taken by troops of the 77th Division. Doughboys are shown going inland on Tokashiki, where they set up a base to cover landings on Okinawa soon afterward. The conquest of this group resulted in the capture of more than 300, I can't say that word, boats below, which were designed by the Japs to ram American ships. So obviously I would say that word, but I'm showing it on screen so you guys can see what it is. But yeah, when you're moving up to Okinawa, these are starting to get to the main islands of Japan. And this is a big deal. The Japanese feel these are homeland, and they'll fight a lot harder on these islands. Um, it's pretty reasonable, I would say, in their position to not want to give up any of this. They're gonna fight, 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 fight for this land because if they don't, that's it. That's home, and that's your family, your friends, everything. So that you're gonna see a lot more unconventional tactics, you could say. One of them being these little boats here. Ram them. You know what? We don't got big boats, but we got these little boats, and you'll see it with the planes too, with the kamikaze pilots. You'll see a lot of these kamikaze tactics to try and slow down the Americans, and it kind of works. It does do a decent bit of damage, but obviously it's not going to slow down the war machine at this point. Japan was over a long time ago at this point in terms of actual um, any chance of them potentially winning this war. They were never going to win, but it was more like a survive kind of thing. The chance for survival for them is long gone. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have anything I can improve on or anything like that, just leave a comment. Tell me. I will do my best to improve in future videos. And if you can, please subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.